Superman and Lois achieves in 2 minutes what Smallville failed to achieve in 10 years. Clark can fly. Clark is Superman. Clark is married to Lois. Mm-hmm. Boom. 2 minutes into Superman and Lois, we have already covered all that ground, and I thought it was really cool how they masterfully just like summarized all of Superman's story very quickly and briefly. And I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. But that being said, this is our review of episode 1, the extended premiere of Superman and Lois. And this is going to be a spoiler review. We're going to briefly talk about it. This is Brienne. I am David. Yes. Brienne, what did you think about Superman and Lois?
I really liked it. I thought they did a good job explaining the story. I always like to assess shows like this from the perspective of someone that doesn't know a lot of superhero movies because that is me. But I did watch Smallville, so I already knew the backstory. And I know the background of Superman and his story, and I've seen some of his movies too. So I get the gist of it. Yes. But I think they did a really good job explaining it, so someone that's Superman fan, like, they'll like it. But someone who's not, they can still understand what's going on. It's not, like, completely way off. And the visuals are really nice. I know I always comment on that in like other movies. The visuals are really nice. They did a good job with that. Yeah, the CW is stepping their game up. This does not look like a CW show. No. This looks good. Like, it gave me some Man of Steel vibes a little bit. Yeah. With, like, the filmmaking, like, just, like, the stylistic choices they made. I was like, this is... Slow-mo with a cape. Yeah. It's, like, majestically blowing in the wind.
Yeah, just even, like, the color grading and everything. It felt very cinematic in how it was filmed. Yeah. And I was like, if they can keep this up, that's awesome. Like, sometimes with shows, they, like, blow their whole budget on the pilot. And then it goes downhill. So hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully they can keep this going, because I thought it was filmed really well. I am the self-proclaimed Superman fanatic. Yes. Basically, if you know me for more than 10 seconds, you'll see how much I love Superman. And I can say, I really like this show. Yeah. I was skeptical, because I've never been a huge, like... I really never got into Supergirl. I really tried watching it. I think I watched it for the first season, couldn't get into it. And whenever they introduced Tyler Hoechlin, I think that's his name, the guy who's playing Superman, they introduced him in Supergirl, and I really never cared for him that much as Superman. I know a lot of people liked him, but I wasn't sold. You know, I like Henry Cavill as Superman, or I like his potential as Superman. I'd like to see where would they go with him if they give him another chance. And you know, my heart is always with Tom Welling as like that's my Clark Kent because I spent so long watching him on Smallville, and I'm slowly gonna get you there to where you've watched all 10 seasons. But I can say after having watched this pilot episode. I like Tyler Hoechlin a lot more as Superman. Yeah. I really like this. I still don't know if I'm totally sold on the Lois Lane character. She's going to take some work. Maybe I think it's just because I need to get used to her. Yeah. I think it's just I've seen so many other Lois Lanes who've done it so well. I think she's got some big shoes to fill. Yeah. But that being said, I do like the show so far. Got some good stuff to say about it. But one thing I've got to address. One thing I have to address it because it literally made me tear up in the episode. Oh, yeah. I don't cry. I'm not a crier. But, like I said, spoiler alert. This is a spoiler review. When you kill Ma Kent in the first 20 minutes of the episode, what are you doing? Yeah.
They didn't even wait to the end. Like, they just came in with a bang. They just did it right before the first commercial break. And it was like, well, there's a recap of everything about Superman and his mom died.
Yeah. I didn't see that coming. You know, I've seen Pa Kent die a million different ways. And Pa Kent, he's got to die. It's part of the story. Yeah. I've never seen Ma Kent die. It crushed me.
They went for it.
Literally, they were on the phone, and like she like did like this heavy breathing thing, and he was like, "Are you all right?" And she's like, "I'm fine." And I looked at Brienne, and I was like, "They better not do it." And then like 5 minutes later, they did it. They did it, and I was like, "No." I was tearing up. I don't cry and stuff, and I don't even think it was because of how they executed it in the show. I think it was just the mere concept of them killing off Ma Kent. Yeah. It made me so sad that I was tearing up. Yeah. I was like, "No, you don't touch Superman's mama." Yeah. I was like, "Oh man." What did you think about Superman's kids?
Oh, yeah. I think, we kind of talked about it a little bit. I think their characters are kind of weird, like their personality-wise, because I feel like they almost, like producers, I feel like they almost tried to, like, tailor them to how teenagers are nowadays. Like, very, like, I don't know, temperamental and emotional. Angsty. And, like, yeah. I feel like they were trying to relate to the audience of people, like the younger audience of people that would be watching the show. And it kind of just almost didn't fit to me. Yeah. I think that at the end of the show, like whenever, you know, they had started to have a relationship with their dad and they were talking with him, I was like, okay, now, like, there's some redeeming qualities there. But at the beginning, I was like, they just, like, don't fit. Like, it's like, you can tell that they're almost trying to, like, try too hard, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's where we have to just remember that this is a CW show, and shows on the CW are typically more angsty and teen-driven, and they're more drama-based stuff. But that being said, even despite the fact it being on a CW show, everything else on the show felt like it was like beyond CW levels. Yeah. And so I think that's why the Sons kind of threw me off a little bit, because they felt kind of like caricatures, whereas the other stuff felt like, oh, this is Superman. Like, even Tyler Hoechlin doing the whole Clark Kent thing, he seemed very Christopher Reeve-esque. Yeah. Like, he's like bumbling around. I was like, okay, this seems like totally different than what the CW typically produces. So whenever the Sons came in there, it was like, ooh, it was kind of jarring. Yeah. But I think that was always going to be difficult, like a difficult situation. Like, you're literally having Superman with sons. That's a hard thing to introduce. Right. And you got to have the drama there. I still, I've talked about this whenever we've done our Smallville reviews. It's always been weird to me whenever people seem to feel entitled to, like, other people's secrets. And I guess it makes a little bit more sense in this situation whenever it's like their dad is an alien. I feel like that's something that, like, it's probably important to let your kids know, hey, you're half alien. Like, that's reasonable. Yeah. But that's still a very CW-esque thing where, like, drama typically, it seems like their go-to thing is like, oh, we need drama? Okay, somebody's got to keep a secret. Like, that seems like that's like their go-to thing. But this is one of the more valid places. But you pointed out in the episode that it's kind of funny, like, they make really big jumps. Oh my gosh. Really quickly. Especially, okay, so Jonathan is the blonde one who's really athletic, and then Jordan is the one who, spoiler alert, ends up having powers. Yeah. But Jordan specifically, you pointed out that he's really good at making jumps.
Yeah, they were like, I think they were in their room or something like that, and they were talking about after, you know, they fell in the barn, and then Jonathan came and, like, covered him, and the pipes fell on top of them. They were talking in their room, and they just said, you know, the doctor came, oh, you have a concussion, and sit in their room. And they're like, you know, there's something weird about that. Like, how are we, like, not more hurt than what we are? Like, there's a secret. Like, Mom and Dad are hiding something from us. I was like, okay, let me just try and step into a normal situation, you know, in the life that we live nowadays. And if something like that was to happen to, like, me and my sister, right, I don't think the first thing that I would go to would be like, I think my mom and dad are hiding that I was born with superpowers. Yeah. Like, I think I would maybe think, okay, well, that was just like I got really lucky. That was kind of like a freak accident type thing. I fell and I fell the right way or something. Like, there would be other things I think my mind would go to than straight, like, my parents are hiding that I have superpowers. Like, that's definitely, I have superpowers and I saved myself. Because they don't even know that their dad is Superman.
Yeah, I mean, if they did, it would make more sense.
Yes, but, if they knew that, then you would be able to connect the dots. But otherwise, like, that was just, like, over here to, like, 3 planets over. Yeah. I was like, you made a huge jump.
Yeah, I think that's just where the writers needed to get from point A to point B. They were like, okay, by the end of the episode, the kids need to know the secret, but we know that Clark and Lois can't really agree on this, and so, like, they're not going to budge there, so the kids have to find it out for themselves, and, like, they were trying to figure that out, but it was, like, a big logical leap. They're like, wow, we weren't hurt that badly. I think our parents are hiding something. I think there's a secret. They know something, like, we might have powers. Like, I was like, whoa, that was a big jump. But who knows? I guess maybe in a world where superheroes exist, that's not as too big of a jump. I don't know. I might be trying to justify it a little bit. Yeah. But speaking of the Sons, the big twist at the kind of towards the end of the episode is that it's not Jonathan who has powers. It's Jordan who has powers. Which, I mean, I think about a few minutes before that reveal, you began to realize, okay, I think that's where they're heading with it. So it wasn't like this huge twist, but it's still they pulled it off really well. But that really left me with more questions than answers, because there's still a lot of stuff left unexplained. One of which is, like, mentioned by Jonathan at the end. He's like, turns out that all my athletic skills, they're actually natural. And I was like, yeah, that actually is really impressive. Like, you're entering into your freshman year of high school, and you're the starting quarterback for Metrop. Like, that's like a huge city. Like, you're the starting quarterback. Yeah, like, that should only be explained by superpowers. Yeah. Like, whenever you take away whenever he doesn't have superpowers, it all of a sudden makes no sense. Yeah. And then also, you had, like, in literally the introductory scene, you had him throwing a football, and it, like, broke through this rope. It's like, okay, so this little kid chucked a football and it went through a rope. Yeah. And now this kid doesn't have superpowers? Yeah. Like, now you gotta explain that to me as well. So there are a lot of misdirects. I'm like, okay, so this kid's just got, like, natural steroids. So, that's kind of funny. But what'd you think about the whole twist with Jordan having the powers?
Yeah, I still think the whole falling from, like, the barn situation, I still feel like, I mean, I guess he covered him, so I guess that would make sense. How he wouldn't have got hurt, but I still feel like he would have more of, like, an injury than, like, just a concussion, for him to not have powers. Which, I mean, I think I'm also just reading into that a little bit.
Also, I think Jordan might have also inherited spider senses, because apparently he knew oh wow, I can flip over. Like he said, like this sense of power, like the sense of control fell over me, and like I was like, is that how powers work? You're all of a sudden like, yeah, I should do this. Like I was like, I don't know. Like maybe we got to talk about Lana's daughter, who's kind of putting on the flirt game with him. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, she annoyed me.
Yeah. At one point, she like looked over at me, and she was like, man, this girl, like, she's got a boyfriend, and she's clearly flirting with Jordan.
Yeah.
And that's whenever I looked at her, and I was like, well, I guess she at least picked up one thing from Lana.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, whenever you watch Smallville, obviously this isn't the same continuity as Smallville, but whenever you watch Smallville, Lana, she's got a boyfriend, and she is just straight up hitting on Clark.
Yeah.
Right? So, she's a hardcore flirt. Even afterwards. Like, even after they got in this huge brawl, later on, whenever they're talking to each other, like, she's still, like, the way she's looking at him and stuff, I'm like, you cannot say, you cannot say you're not flirting with this guy. Like, you're looking at him and, like, the things you're saying and, like, the way that, even whenever, like, they were exchanging numbers, Jonathan was like, okay, here, I'll give you my number. And she's like, no, not you, him. Which implies that the reason you're giving it to him is for some reason other than just friendship.
Yeah.
If not, then you're just being a total jerk. You're saying, I don't want to be friends with you, Jonathan.
Yeah.
I want to be friends with him. Like, no, you're implying something more here. So don't act like, oh, I was going to mention that I had a boyfriend. No, you had plenty of opportunities, and you heavily implied you did not.
Yeah, and then she was like, oh yeah, you can come join us for like a bonfire thing with our friends, but like, I'm not gonna promise you that I won't get you in any trouble. Like, yeah, you made him like shoot lasers from his eyes, like you made him kiss you, like you did get him in trouble.
I'd also be interested to know if any of y'all watching this video, if y'all also thought y'all were watching a car commercial at the very beginning of that bonfire scene. I thought that the like we were just fast forwarding through the commercials because I recorded the episode. We fast forwarded through it, and then it cut to like him arriving at the bonfire, and I thought that it didn't like fast forward through any of the commercials because I thought it was like a car commercial pulling up. It turns out he was like Ubering to the bonfire, and it was kind of, at the end, Lois turns to Clark and she says, okay, we just got to be on the same page going forward. And I thought it was funny. It seemed like a very Lois Lane thing to say, because what she really meant, she said we got to be on the same page going forward, but what she really meant by that is we got to be on my page going forward. Because basically she's being like, hey Clark, you know how I told you we need to do this? Well, that's what needed to happen. And like, so it's kind of like, we need to be on the same page, but it seems like, I think they just need to learn to communicate better. Learn to maybe compromise a little bit more. I do think she was correct in like saying the kids should have known about these powers earlier, but I also see where Clark was coming from. Because that's a lot to entrust to a bunch of kids. And it's also really scary. Like I felt a lot safer thinking that Jonathan had the powers. Because the idea, like if you've ever seen the movie Brightburn, you haven't seen it. If you've seen the movie Brightburn, a person with a little bit unstable, like somebody just not, mentally, not totally there. That's dangerous to have those powers. So I'll see where they're heading with that. I'm sure that's something they're going to wrestle with because that's going to be a tough thing to do there. But then there's the final twist at the end because we haven't even talked about it. But there's this guy who Superman's been fighting on and off throughout this entire episode. And at one point, Superman's falling to his death with kryptonite stabbed into him. And then literally all he has to do is just like pluck the kryptonite out. And he's like, fine. I was like, wow, that was easy. This dude just like wasted that kryptonite. Turns out it was his last piece of kryptonite too. I was like, wow, you shouldn't have wasted that. But the final reveal at the end is that this is Captain Luthor. So what do you think's going on here?
Well, we know it's Lex Luthor, so...
He said something along the lines of like, his planet had also been destroyed. Or something like that. So that makes me think like maybe this is something from like the future?
Maybe.
Right? So it's like a descendant of Lex Luthor?
I guess
and like maybe his planet was ultimately destroyed and it had something to do with Superman? I don't know.
Maybe.
There's this really cool comic, a Superman comic called Red Sun. It's like an Elseworlds thing, and it's if Superman was if he landed in the Soviet Union rather than in America. And this like the end of that comic is actually really cool because it basically, spoiler alert, through this whole line of events, basically Lex Luthor's descendants end up being the family called L, right? Like L, and then like they have this kid, like there's this guy named Jor-El, and he has a son named Kal-El, and their world is about to be destroyed. And so what happens is that Jor-El puts Kal-El into a ship and sends him back into the past. And so it turns out that really Superman is a descendant of Lex Luthor.
Oh wow.
Right? It's like, so like, it was actually really like it's a huge plot twist at the end of the comic. But that's what immediately my mind went to, because it's like Captain Luthor, but like through everything he described there, I was like, I don't know if this can just be straight up Lex Luthor. It's got to be something a little bit different. So I don't know. I'll be interested to track where that's heading. So there's our, there's our discussion on the pilot episode of Superman and Lois. I almost called it Lois and Clark. That's a different TV show. This is not the first show that's revolved around Superman and Lois, but this is the first one that's revolved around them married with children, which is also a TV show. Any final comments about Superman and Lois?
I really liked it. I'm excited to see where they're going to take it. Because I think they have a lot of flexibility, a lot of things they can do with it, and I'm interested to see what they'll do.
Yeah, same here. I really like it. I'm excited to see where they go with it. I can't say it's on Smallville level for me because I was with that show for a really long time, and it's still my favorite show. It's refreshing to see Superman on the TV again because it's been a long time. I've been waiting for this for 10 years because Smallville, the finale, I remember watching that back in 2011, and it's good. 10 years later, here we go. Another show. I'm ready to see where it heads. Yeah. So that being said, I'm David.
And I'm Brienne.
And this has been Now Let's Be Honest About Movies. Bye.